when you're young, it's hard to establish your voice, because you have parents, you have to listen, you have authoritative figures around you, you have, your kid, you don't know, you're not thinking about everything, so sometimes it's hard. It gets a certain point where you do have a voice, and it's hard to listen to people tell you you can't do that, you can't be this, and like music was one space where I was like, this is where I get to say how I feel and I get to express it, and I'm right. And once I sit on this track, I can either it boosts my self esteem for believing it, or I've said how I felt, like I've established this is something I'm passionate about. This is something I feel. This is a thought I'm thinking that, like, you can argue. You can like you can argue with people and they'll be wrong and they'll out argue you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like this music is one of those places where it's like, boom, I said it, I cemented it in stone. This is who I am. This is what I've created.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let that stand. Let that be it. And like I want people. It's always I want people to be able to find that power and decide for themselves and be like, I can think my own thoughts. I can, carve my own sculpture out of stone, so to speak.
Hey everyone, hope you're doing well out there. We're at episode 2, and this time I sat down and spoke with Louisville legend Dom B. He's a rapper and producer. We talked about the craft of creating music, as well as being ranked worldwide in esports such as Pokemon and Rocket League. Thank you so much to everybody who's shown support for the show so far. It really means a lot, and there are so many of you I can't wait to talk to. But for now, here's Dom B. You've been proudly like a part of Louisville culture for a long time, and you've always been somebody that artists can go to seek advice or collaborate or exchange ideas with. In fact, I was talking to Simile the other day, and he mentioned that you helped him, when he had some questions, and you definitely helped me when I had mine. When I was first getting started in audio engineering, I remember going to your place. I sought Jan's advice, Frame's advice, and yours, and you put me onto my first microphone, which was the blue baby bottle microphone.
Yep.
If you remember that one.
Yeah.
And I was like, what microphone do I get? I was in these early stages, and I heard your mixes, and I was like, what microphone does this guy use? And I absolutely, I still love that microphone. I have since then switched to the Shure SM7B.
Yeah, classic.
That one, it's almost on the opposite side of the spectrum as far as sensitivity. Like the blue baby bottle is like sensitive, and it picks up all these like really intimate frequencies. Whereas like the Shure, it's like you got to be really close to the microphone, and it takes a lot of juice. It needs a preamp, it needs like a cloud lifter to even function. Where it's like a dynamic microphone. This doesn't need any phantom power at all. But yeah, I really appreciate you being there to give me advice when I needed it. And I know you're there for others as well, and they appreciate that. Simile being one of them. But before I get ahead of myself, I want to talk about the latest record that's come out, Breeze Tapes.
Okay.
Can you just tell me a bit about that album, what it means to you, and maybe the collaboration with Q Mystic that went into that?
Yeah, like usually I just usually when I'm stuck, like when I'm working on some music, I'm in a project, I'm in like a zone kind of. And I'll be either really hyper focused on a certain style of rapping, certain tone, a certain music element, something I'm trying to achieve usually with every project. But with me and Q Mystic, we have just kind of been like, he just makes beats and I rap. That's
Right.
what, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's what he's like naturally doing every day. So he uploads a lot of beats to these folders, and like some days I just like get the itch. I'll be in the middle of a project and I'll just be like, let me do something else. And I'll just like start, just scribbling, and I'll spend like days or weeks just like writing to certain songs or certain beats, fitting in certain parts. Or some days I'll listen to like a beat for like a really long time. I'll listen to it for like a week or so, and then one day everything will just hit me.
Yeah.
Just depends. But like that was just Breeze Tapes is me and Q Mystic kind of like, just me picking stuff out of the folder and writing to it. And it ended up being, I'm inspired by the seasons a lot, if you can tell by
Oh
my
yeah,
music.
absolutely.
I ended up just kind of like when summer comes around, I kind of just get like in the mode. I just want to be outside. I want to
Mhm.
like move around and just like that this music I feel like sort of reflected just like my mind state. Like during the summer, I'm just trying to ride around. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? Like with the top down, smoking herb,
Yeah.
doing my thing, hanging out outside, mingling with people, going to parties, doing, just hanging out, nothing crazy, but just like I vision everybody like doing the same thing. So that's where a lot of those tracks were just kind of like me writing about that
Mhm.
or me writing, trying to create that world or, I'm trying to show to people, So that's
Mhm.
kind of where the breeze taste came in. It's just, me could just writing and
Yeah.
crafting stuff to it.
It's really beautiful how music so often can capture a place and time and like so intimately, like a summer, like this is like a summer anthem.
Mhm.
And one thing I loved that you did, and it's my favorite piece of work of yours, is the winter album you did, Frozen Winds. Uh, I I I was telling Dave the other day, I was on the phone with him, and I said I still listen to Frozen Winds every winter. I put my Carhartt on, and
Hey,
get
that's what's
ready.
up.
I love how personal you were with your audience with that album. It was. I know you do a lot of collaboration, and if, uh, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was no features on Frozen Winds, right?
If I'm not mistaken, I don't think so.
That
I
was
don't
just
think so.
pure, and it felt like a kind of a a really intimate insight into your life, and kind of just your experience and just creating this feeling of this time and place. Winter is here,
Mhm.
and and everything that comes with that, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
The space heater, the places you went lyrically with that, just really inspire me. And it's just like it seems like you can take this idea that's so simple of wintertime, but everything that comes with that emotionally and physically, and how it affects you and your loved ones and how you live your life. It's just it captured this very human moment. So I really liked. I really enjoyed that album, and so that kind of ties back into like you wanting to write your summer jams too. It's like a summer jam versus a winter jam could be almost have the same dichotomy as like a love song and a breakup song,
Yeah.
where it's like they're two they both are so meaningful in their own way, but they're so different, and they don't fit into the puzzle piece that or that part of life that you're in, what you're experiencing. A breakup song really hits when you're getting out of a relationship, and a love song really hits when you're feeling those same feelings because you're getting that same reaction from the artist.
Yeah.
So I really like that you kind of delve into that idea of keeping the audience in mind, of like creating a picture and like a narrative for them. But one question I have to have before we move past that is, how did you pull off that album cover for the Breeze tapes? I
Oh.
absolutely love that. For those listening, he's got the Breeze tapes lettering on like some grass, and next to him they have a miniature horse with Q Mystic sitting by you. How did you pull that off? Where how did you pull that off, man?
So I went to my cousin is a pretty extravagant guy.
Okay.
He didn't live not too far from me. He's at a 4th of July party. He said pull up. So when I pull up, what did he call it? There was actually he actually had font in the yard. What did he call his party? The Anyway, he had the name of the party in front of the yard. We pulled up to his house,
Mm.
classic party, drinks and, food everywhere. Family, we're all just hanging out, about to do some 4th of July fireworks. And I'm chilling upstairs in the party. And I look downstairs because I'm like looking over a balcony and I'm like, yo, there's a horse peeking through I doubled. I'm like, yo, there's a horse peeking through the door. So I I get my niece. I'm like, yo, come look at this. And she like looks and she's like a 2-year-old, 3-year-old. She looks
Mhm.
down. She's like, yo. So everybody goes down. My cousin knew somebody and they bought a mini horse to the party. The horse is kicking it. I was in charge of watching the horse for a little bit. Like the dude was like, here,
Mhm.
I gotta go somewhere real quick. So I was like holding the horse. Didn't tell me the horse could storm off, but it didn't do that. So I'm chilling, you know. Just
It's something out of an episode of Atlanta.
Yeah, it's some real, you know, it was very Kentucky. So in the cover, it's me and Q Mystic. I invited him over because I was like, you got to see this. He had like belly dancers in the street. I don't know. My cousin was doing a lot of things. So we took that picture. It was me, the horse, you know, we posed. I had somebody take the actual font from what my cousin had from the party and then change it to the Breeze tapes. And I was like,
that's incredible. It's like sometimes just things work out. Kind of the universe finds a way, or just things fall into place in the most unusual way possible, but it works out in a beautiful way.
Yeah, I was going with another cover, but it just kind of tied into like I was saying, like that's just like my lifestyle during the summer. Like I hanging out with people, drinking beer, you know what I'm saying?
Hanging
just
out with miniature horses.
And it just happens, you know what I mean?
So it's like, this was really just a snapshot from my life, from my summer.
Exactly.
This isn't like something we set up in advance, like call a horse guy, get these letters. Like, these things were just here around me in my life.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I love that. So that record was released on Creative Natives, correct?
Yeah.
So can you tell me a bit about that label? I have a few specific questions, but just to kind of let us know what Creative Natives is.
Okay. I usually like have never, you know, had like people that I click up with, and everything, how I kind of connect with people, you know. It's certain people just like you sense their musicality. You sense how it connect, you know, how invested they are in the music. And like me and Ramel had kind of already just been like, we just like naturally got together and work. He was one of the few people like that didn't complain. Like it was just like, okay, let's record here, let's do this, let's get to it, let's just make it happen. And like that's just how I like to work. I figure, you know, that's just I love the art of music and rapping and all that. So it's just I just like to do it and express it. So everybody else around that was like on the label, we all just kind of like were working around each other for years. And Ramel was just like, he had an idea, he had a vision. He was like, let's, you know, cement it. You know, we all kind of on board and we're all just trying to, no, we're not trying, but we're all really putting in our energy into like building something. And yeah, we just really like to, I guess, I don't know how to explain it. I guess we're trying to become our own entity.
Right.
Amongst, you know, just like, you know, like our own pillar, I guess.
Yeah.
So to speak. But yeah, other than that, we just all like have the same vision musically, which is hard to ask of a lot of people because some people want everything else but, you know, the music. But like we have the same vision, same dedication, you know, same respect for each other, you know, same, you know, respect everybody's boundaries. We're all like working, and we just like, we literally like have fun creating, and it's great to finally have a space where a pool of people that you could just like freely create with, and we all got the same goal. And like, you know, if it goes, project goes here, we all go here, you know, project goes there, and then like we really have a team to really like build with. Like it's just it's very, you know, rare. It's a rare thing, so it's just like, you know, it's like a blessing. I don't know how to accept. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If that expresses it right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like saying it's like a pillar. I mean, and because the Louisville music culture and the community it rests on these pillars that have been built. I think of Bryan Puckett when he made Little Heart Records. You know, he built up so many people, including myself. Brad, before we started filming, he was here. He was part of a Shadow Pact, and him and I met actually because through Bryan Puckett, because we were signed to that same label, and he really believed in us. Like me as like a 16-year-old kid, unsure of myself and like where to find myself in this community, he helped me get established and gave me a chance, gave me a platform, and he did that for so many young people. He put us out on tour in the Midwest. It's like absolutely incredible and like selfless, like of what he was doing. He was like he really loved the music scene, and I can't thank him enough for what he did for me and for a lot of my friends. And I'd love to see creative natives kind of, you know, taking a similar place in Louisville where you have these people that you really believe in and you know are talented and you're like-minded, as you said, and you're trying to just be your own unique thing, you know, and it's about being stronger together as a community.
Hmm.
I feel like, you know, when a label can be like a kind of a family almost, where you're all looking out for each other, you want the best for each other. And I
Yeah.
see that a lot in what Creative Natives does. And I imagine Ramel's passion motivates everybody in that group because he is so ceaseless in his passion for music. And I mean, he does it because he loves the craft, and
Yeah.
he's got a really great voice, of course. Like, but he's inspired me a lot. I know he was involved with Little Heart Records
Yeah.
near the end of Bryan's life, and so was mentioning so was Jan's at one point as
Yeah.
well. But I hope I like to think everything happens for a reason, but I do wonder, you know, how things would have played out that way. But
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for Ramel for, you know, building this platform for you and for the other artists who are on the label. And could you remind me of the other artists who are on the label as well?
All right, I'm gonna make sure I remember everybody.
Okay.
Because like I
Okay.
hope I don't leave anybody else. So, you know, there's Ramel, 2 L's.
Mhm.
There's myself, Don B. There's Furious Floyd. There's Q Mystic. There's our DJ DS. There is okay. I'm not forgetting anybody. There's Whip. He's down in Lexington. And there's of course Good Bar.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's of course, you know, that's like the main core artist, you know. Then there's, you know, we call her Mama Tay. That's Ramel's wife. She really does a lot of stuff to go to the label. And there's a few other people who help piece it together. But yeah,
Okay.
that's the staff.
That's awesome.
That's who we run with, you know.
How long has the label been going for? Do you know when's the established date or the year? Do you recall?
Man, I'm terrible with years. Let me see. I want to say, let's say 2018.
2018?
Maybe? Yeah, I'm terrible with years, so we're gonna say 2018. It was probably later than that. I don't know.
Okay, okay.
So like, yeah.
Yeah.
So like a blur to me sometimes.
Mhm.
There's pre-COVID, you know.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, let's take a moment and say that time started acting 2020 was very long year. Time started acting differently when that occurred. Like, my goodness, it seemed like it was almost 2 years, and now time is, it's like, oh my gosh, that was that's also part of getting older though, is,
Yeah.
you know, when you're a kid and like you're like put on punishment for like a week, that can seem like forever.
Yeah.
Like the longest conceivable time, because like your context is, well, I'm only been here like 8 years. And as you get older, like it's like, oh man, that week flew by. Just got a lot. You can lose days. You're like, oh man, that what? And you start looking back, and so that's just a charming part of just being human, I guess. So is there anything new that Creative Natives is doing right now that you kind of want to bring to the forefront?
Of course, Floyd's album.
Mm-hmm.
Vince will spit Kicker 3. He put a lot of work into it. And I do the mixing, recording.
Oh, wow.
For everybody, I try to do as much as I can. And I get to see, you know, they're my homies, but they're also my favorite rappers. So I get to see these people work on it. And it's like, it's crazy to watch, you know, certain things develop. This is some of Floyd's best work. So I think everybody should go check it out. It really, sometimes hip hop can get away from us and being like a little too gaudy, party, you know, focus on the wrong things, which isn't a bad thing all the time, but too much of it is like gets away from the core essence of just like it's for the people, to uplift the people, feed the spirit. He really did a job of like doing that on the like current down day-to-day earthly level. It's like, it's beautiful. So there's that. Other than that, we just had a show called Function. We were trying to get we're getting started up. Just trying to, we're just bringing a cozy vibe back to hip hop, you know. So people, when they come to shows, it's just more so an experience. We're just honestly working. We're working on like all of our weaknesses. We all stay in communication and being like, you know, we're working on marketing this time. We're working on music quality. We're working on production. We're working on. It's really, I don't want to say it's not a slow process, but since we are doing everything in house, it's you know, we make sure we do every step right, and it seems to pay off every time. You know that we focus on this. Oh, we did this. You know, it's like we're gradually building our momentum or building our foundation, and yeah, I think our focus is to like do this for a living and also feed the culture. You know, just feed the culture what the culture fed us. Honestly,
Yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said about having that flow of, like you said, like doing everything in house. When you outsource all these things, you find yourself waiting on other people or other processes to happen. But once if you have like a label and a bunch of internal uh, processes happening, where you have an audio engineer, and then you have somebody for the videos and somebody to deal with social media and all that. That makes it a lot more cohesive, and you know what to expect. It's more predictable, I feel like. So you say you do all the audio engineering. So do they send you stems, or do you record at your spot, or how do you usually do that?
they record at my spot, send me stems, however we get it. Yeah, I've always just had a knack for it and put a lot of time into it. Like inadvertently, I just was doing it because it was like a necessary job, and I ended up, just really enjoying putting that part of it together.
You said you started doing it inadvertently, like as a job.
Like, well, yeah, I recorded. I used to record like in high school, like myself, and like I just wanted to hear myself record. So like, got the I had the Walmart mic hooked up to the the school computer that they let me have, and I was doing all that. And I kind of kept graduating, going through programs, and after a while, I just learned that certain things need to be done for it to sound good. But I just was like, for me, it was just like I was focused on the rap part, and that's when I just like time after time, I learned more about like the engineering aspect situation of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, so you got started at a young age. Do you remember like some of the first like programs you used like to on the school computer? Was it like Audacity or?
Man, well, the first time I recorded was in the basement. My brothers we were in the basement. They had a tape cassette. My brother made beats. He recorded like a beat on a cassette. He had a double cassette tape where you could play one here and then record on the other cassette. So like we would record the beat and then record the raps on it. And like that was the first time like recording. And then like in high school, I got my very first song that I like released. I had I had this really cool MP3 player, and it had a microphone in it. My brother had another beat he made. I put it in a boombox and sat it on top of put the MP3 player on top of the boombox, and just I had to record the song straight through, like hook verse. It couldn't mess up because it was just all on the and I had to convert it to MP3. So like I started with that, and then I ended up getting Reaper after a while, and down the rabbit hole.
Gotcha. And what do you use now?
Right now, I use Cakewalk. I've used Cakewalk for probably about 10, 12 years, maybe.
Wow. Is it one that stays pretty consistent?
Yeah. They used to be owned by a company, and then that company was like, we're not doing it anymore, and I think BandLab bought it, but I still have the version that you paid for back in the day when the package was like $500 or so. So I have that. It's still the same. It's essentially the same. Company took over. They updated. They made it real user. It's super user friendly.
Yeah, and so you paid one price for it, and now you just have it for life.
Yeah. Well, I would have got it for life if I had just waited for the company to, I guess, fail. You know what I'm saying? Because they did it for free. But I have like certain plugins and stuff that came with the older version. You know, but anyway, I mean, it's just, you know, that's just my dog choice. It's nothing like super crazy.
I got you.
But,
yeah, I as I said in the my last conversation, the DAW is just, you know, it's the same set of tools, but with they look slightly different or just a different user interface. You know, different branding.
yeah,
You know, people say some DAWs are better than the other. It's the person behind the DAW. Absolutely.
definitely.
You know? And it's whatever you're more comfortable with, and it's oftentimes what you started with.
Yeah,
you know,
that's often. Yeah,
I think a lot of my Logic people out there, we started with GarageBand, oftentimes on our iPhone.
yeah, of course.
And so it feels similar. But I do want to one day have that superpower of knowing all the DAWs, the Thanos glove with each DAW on my finger, just being able to walk into any studio and have that superpower. Yeah,
and it's crazy because like a lot of it is pretty. If we all spent a little time in it, you know, we'd know what to do. But it's just a matter of like all the like small hotkeys and little wares and whatnot.
Absolutely, it's in the details, especially those hotkeys. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. So you get your workflow going like to a point where you can just seamlessly go. Yeah, and that's a really good feeling, especially in like video editing. You know, where you can just kind of edit everything like in a snappy fashion. So you do a lot of collaboration with not just your label mates, but with local artists a lot. To name a few, we got like Bluegrass Wonderland with Q Mystic. One of my favorite collab tape is Apocalypse Twins with Peter Wesley. Nice. I'm a big Peter Wesley fan. I've watched him since you know, like when he was performing with Dirty Flannel Dave. Like I really enjoy his style, and I love all the nerdy places he goes and with his music, and with Terry Montana as well. Yeah. So when you work with an artist, how do you blend their vision with your sonic palette? Like, is it more of a dance usually or a debate?
Usually a dance. Like honestly, my philosophy with like is artistry is like you can collab with anybody, but like it just depends on like we're all humans. We all have something. There's something we all relate on. You know what I'm saying? We can relate on. I mean, you know, certain tapes like me and Q Mystic is just kind of like, you know, head nod to you. You know the drill. Hey, we're doing this. Cool, boom. Because like, you know, he does his thing. You know, kind of I developed a certain style to his beats, so I rap. You know, we do our thing. We just kind of don't think too much. Just create things like Apocalypse Twins. Me and Peter have been rapping since like he was one of my first rap buddies.
That's awesome.
Like, you know, we were like the guys. They were like, oh, look at those guys. They're trying to be rappers over there. And like, but like we're deep. Like we were really deep into just like rapping. So that one's like way overdue. And that one I even lollygagged like a few years because of mixing. You can ask him. He hates when I like keep mixing things over and stuff. But like that was like over a couple of years. But you know, me and Terry, we I don't know, we just bop.
Just clicked it. You just clicked it. Sometimes the chemistry is just there.
Yeah, he's like we've always kind of made music. I got introduced to him through his brother Doncio, rest in peace. That was my homie. But we all just used to click up. Just like when I used to look around the old desktop, like to you know, different houses, and we just record and do things like that. But like it's just mostly my first instinct to collab with somebody is just like the intent and the hunger. But like if I can tell certain people's like intent behind the music, and I'm like, cool, I like that. I love the in the moment because like you said, music's just capturing what we do. I love the in the moment. Like, let's get to it now. Let's make this happen now. Let's create this what we have going. And yeah, besides that, I just really like to mesh with all types of music because that's how I that's what I grew up listening to. You know, I was started out with hip hop. I just ventured out, and I genuinely have a a love for all type of music. That's why I did. I don't know if you heard my work with the Earth Tones. Like there's Don B and the Earth Tones, where I was doing like more rock influenced things. I've done some like more darker things. I make a little techno. I ain't putting none out. Not techno, like house music. I ain't putting none out. But like, I just really I want to rap to it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's
absolutely.
it's just fun. Like certain people, I just really like to feed. Just depends. Just depends. Like I said, I'm not like I don't like to really just go out and make music willy nilly with anybody.
Right.
But I can collab with anybody. But I also just like the it's like almost like an unsaid thing. Like I just sense with certain artists and people where it's just like, oh, okay, cool. Let's get to this, you know?
So when you collab with somebody and they bring you some lyrics already, you can of course pick up what they're putting down and be like, okay, this is where we're going, what direction. When you're going like with a solo work, or if you're say you're about to you know this is going to be a feature and you write the first part and send it to them, do you find more often that, and just in general, do you find more often that the music brings out the theme of the song, or more that you bring the theme to the music? And because it seems for me, when I hear some things, it brings this thing out of me that it's not foreign, but it makes sense. It's like it brings in this very clear idea of what the song is when I hear it. And I know exactly what I would want to sing on it or say on it. But sometimes it's like a blank palette, and it's like I get to project myself more onto the beat. Like, what do you find more common in your experience?
So you mean it's just like as far as like how how I approach the like
Right, like, yeah, do you find that when you hear a beat that the idea comes out of you immediately because of the influence of the beat, or more you put your own influence on the beat itself?
um depends on the song mostly. Like yeah, most of the times like I'm I'm a slave to the music, you know what I mean? So like if I hear a song or hear a certain sound,
Mhm.
whatever emotion or feeling hits me first, unless it's just a beat that's just like, oh, it's just bops. This
Yeah.
shit just bops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But usually if like I let the sound kind of dictate what what I say or what I'm feeling, you know what I mean? Because I feel like I feel like it's weird to get on a song. Not it works out sometimes, like to get on the song and really like kind of do what you want, but like the song's like sad, and so you're making like a
Right.
harder song, or song's happy and you're rapping like sad or anger. You know,
Right.
if this answers your question, is this answering?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so like yeah, usually a lot of times the beat usually tells me like, yo, okay, cool, I'm going in this direction, and then if I'm like collabing with somebody, I usually like as soon as the beat comes on, I think about them first.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I want to
Of
rap on
course.
this, but I think about that person. It's cool.
Always, yeah.
I'll make something that kind of I'll either do my thing and see if they can compliment it. But there are some beats like usually when I rap over my own stuff, I just kind of I make you know what I mean. I give the energy to the beat
Mhm.
in that situation, but most of the time I'm influenced by the music.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like the idea of kind of doing like the opposite. You mentioned like going sad on like a high energy beat, or
Yeah,
I think we saw like a huge emergence of this new thing where we had like really hyper energy trap beats that were like really fast, really energetic, and then people kind of doing like almost like a mumble rap thing under this like low energy, laissez-faire kind of I don't really care. I just a lot of people say like the I just woke up kind of rap, like on the beat that's going crazy.
yeah,
And that dichotomy is like that parallel. So it was really appealing to a lot of people. It's like this is kind of cool. I like what's happening here. It's like you're bringing this low energy to the high energy, or the opposite of that, where the energy it doesn't call for this high energy, but you're bringing it anyway. Like kind of not rebelling against it, but kind of just like going the opposite way than what you'd think you would usually go as an artist to challenge yourself.
yeah. Um, yeah, I think I think it's dope when it's like done when it's done like intentionally.
Yeah.
You know, but I guess my example was just like done like somebody just oblivious to the sound that is coming to them that
Right.
is making the emotion.
Not reading
but
the
like,
room.
not
Sort of
yeah,
thing.
not reading the room. But like, yeah, I'm definitely a fan of. I'm a fan of like a lot of like. There's more so. There was more things I'm like a fan of that I'm not a fan of in hip hop, and it used to be kind of like, oh, don't like this, don't like that, because that's not, but like it's all branched out into
Yeah.
like a tree. You can do kind of anything. So I love to hear certain like new crazy things or vibrations or frequencies that people, like you said, just like, they'll take a high energy beat, do something different to it.
Yeah.
I've heard people use high pitched voices or, use more melodic things. And like, it's really dope to just kind of experience that and like get ideas from that or just feed off that energy.
It's beautiful how infinite all of it is. You
Yeah.
know, it 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 can be easy when you only think about it for a short time. It's like everything in music's been done already, but we're really, it can feel like we're just getting started really with all everything we have accessible to us. And so you haven't just collaborated with local artists. I do seem to remember you collaborated with a kombucha company, uh, or you did a collaboration of some sort like that. Is
No,
that
I
right?
didn't do a collaboration. That was actually so. What happened with that was let's see. I had this. There was the beat Q Music sent me. This is one of those moments. I think I had this beat for like a year, and then I'm like, oh, well, something I want to do with this. Some things I could like I could write a song to it, but like no, I want like I said, I want to wait till it just like boom, this is the right idea. And like I said, I'll hold on to verses, beats for like years, and then some stuff I'll be like, oh, I'm writing this today. Had that beat just sitting for like a year or so. I woke up from a nap one time and it was just like everything just spilled out, and I was just like, I'm gonna make a song about kombucha.
Wow.
I like to make a song about. I like to make since my lifestyle is not like I'm not like what typically attracts in hip hop. I'm just like I'm just laid back, chill dude. I like to make songs about stuff that I like know in my lifestyle, and just kind of like make whatever isn't cool, make it cool. It's kombucha. It's good for your health. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's good probiotics, So I was like, cool, I'm gonna just do the opposite and just make a dope song about it. So I did that. And I just was making it on the whim, and the Elixir Kombucha company hit me up. And they were like, and it was on Instagram or Twitter or something. I'm never on Twitter. And I was like, hey, here's my song. And they were like, yo, this is crazy. We're gonna talk on this day or whatever. And then like I don't think I didn't check the message for like 2 years.
Oh
like,
no.
Cause like I at the time I wasn't like cognitive of these things. I was just like, oh, hey, I wasn't really into the social apps, and I went back one day and I was like, oh damn. But yeah, that's how that came about.
That's super cool. And it's great. It's interesting, like it's just beautiful how you wake up one day like I'm gonna make a song about kombucha, and like you put it out there, and like this company hits you up and says we'd love this, we'd love to like collaborate with you or use this, but we're just having a great time listening to your music over here. It's such a good feeling, like knowing that how your music is positively affecting other people and just gaining people's interest. So I wanted to talk to you about so you make beats, right? Like you've been a producer for quite some time. How is making beats, being a producer of hip hop, affected you overall as an artist? Like I kind of describe when I first started learning about music as a young kid, my music teacher said something that always stuck with me. He said he described when he was a child, it's like before I knew and was educated about music, I heard it as a wall of sound. And then when I was then later in life educated about music, I heard each individual part with its own space and own layering, and it was all separate things coming at each other in harmony together. You can hear, oh, that's the bass, oh, these are the keys, and even more complex things like, oh, this is the hi-hat is on this side, kind
Yeah.
of, and because the drum set's there. And I love that kind of idea of like when you really intimately start to understand something, you experience it and take it in a different way. So, how has being a producer affected you as an artist?
Um, I don't really know. we like I'm a rapper. You know, a lot of the things that I do, like making beats and engineering, came because of a need of like me rapping. You know, I rapping. Like, well, I need to record. Well, I need this.
Right. Yeah.
So it wasn't like my passion's not necessarily in those areas, but I'm learning to. I'm trying to learn. Well, I am learning. I have learned to take a back seat and become try to speak more passionate because it was more of like I said, it was out of a need, so it
By
wasn't necessarily
necessity.
so. So I'm
Right.
like, oh, I need to learn to make a beat like this. I need this beat to rap. I need this beat, and over
Mm,
time, um, I'm not super consistent when it comes to making like producing songs, but I hit spurts, I hit spots where I'm like, I don't know what's going on, uh, but I'm always trying to get better and always trying to get a good sound
hmm
or sound that that's in my head or that matches sounds I've heard. But it has forced me to be a little more patient in like understanding the music instead of being like a rapper and be like, get the beat done, get the beat,
Right. Yeah.
I need this. So it's helped me be more patient in learning. Like a lot of stuff I just want to learn so I can create this sound.
Yeah.
But I've also learned what I like to hear. It's a different journey. I've learned what I've liked to hear and learned that I could just use. I can have that. I can manipulate, control that, and like really create the world I'm trying to create with it. Yeah, usually kind of I'm sort of like a student still, so I always consider myself a student when it comes to beat, anything. But like
Oh
when it
yeah.
comes to beat making, I'm mystified because other people like Q Mystic, he does it with he speaks it like I speak, with my rap. He just like he hears the sound in a different way.
Mm,
So it's towards me to like try to open my ear to certain things or also just trust also certain sounds
right.
that I, am just drawn towards.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I totally agree. It's like, yeah, I found, with producing, it's like something you really, producers are different.
Yeah. Yeah.
They live and breathe that stuff. Some people can do a healthy balance in between, but it seems like the producers who do it full time, like they are just, there's such an ocean of knowledge and skills to learn when it comes to being a producer. It's just, I found I'm just primarily a vocal engineer. That's like my specialty is vocals and engineering those. And so I found ways to work around beats, found of course like certain frequencies I need to duck or scoop out to in order to place a vocal in a certain place. But
Hmm.
then when I started like recording bands, like doing drum mics and guitar tones and bass and having to build that all from scratch. It gave me as well like this new understanding and appreciation of, oh my gosh, there's a lot that goes into this. I have to learn about like the bass drum frequency and have to somehow compensate for that the whole time. Like, how do I make that the bass drum and the guitar not fight with each other, not compete for the space while also having a vocal in there? And so I I I look back, I'm like, wow, I was so spoiled. I get a beat sent to me. Here's the beat. It's done. And
Yeah.
then I put the vocal on it. It's like, wow, like the people who do that full process from scratch. I mean, that's so many moving parts and so much room for error, but like it's really admirable, to be able
Yeah.
to do all of that.
Yeah. Definitely with that was kind of when I became more aware of engineering and putting beats like that together, it got kind of like I had the same experience, like from that like arrangement standpoint. I was like, oh my god, like what's right? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
What's right? Why do
Mm-hmm.
there's a million different ways you could do it, but then there's the right way, and then there was just like
Oh yeah.
very it was really that was engineering has been one of my like biggest battles making music, but it's also very rewarding.
Oh
It's
yeah.
super reward. Like it's one of my like I've had nights where I've just like I'm literally about to pull my hair out. I'm screaming into a pillow because I'm like, no, like how do I get this and this and then like the more and more I do it, the more the answer is just like I just let things be and just let it be simple.
Yeah.
Let this be this, move it, and it's become like just kind of like work. You just kind of like a little like dance, like work with the music. Find your groove, play. Learn your ear, and you know,
Yeah.
let it be. Like sometimes it's just like let it
Absolutely.
be, which is kind of it's kind of a hard answer to tell. It's a hard answer to tell someone. So
Yeah.
when you tell yourself when you want like a certain
Oh,
result, you're like,
absolutely.
no, I want.
I need this, this, and this, and this.
Yeah, yeah,
But really, I have found that to be the truth over and over again. Simplicity is the way.
hmm
I especially audio engineers out there, we all have got to a point where our vocal chain is like looking like a CVS receipt. And it's like, oh my, okay, I got too much going on here. Obviously, there's something going on muddying up this process. But you get in your head about it. You're like, well, I gotta add this, I gotta add this,
yeah,
because you hear results immediately, but then you don't realize down the line it's affecting some other tone that you're not listening to, and you're like, why does that low end sound like that or something?
yeah,
So, but yeah, time and time again, simplicity has been the way, and I found, of course, it's more when it comes to engineering. You're all across the board. It seems, in my experience, that it really is more about subtracting than adding
hmm
anything. The most important things we do are subtracting things and just leaving room instead of like boosting a tone, it's like put it way up there. It's just no leaving room for it to
yeah,
do its own thing naturally. We tend to want to over polish
hmm
all the time, and then we get things like too much compression that
yeah,
may not sound as great as we think it sounds, and we'll listen to some old mix, or we'll listen to like an old Jay-Z album and be like, why does that sound so just true and genuine? It's because it's this flat kind of EQ, but it's his voice. It's not like top shelved, and
yeah,
it's just him, and that there's something to be said about that. About the polish, too much polish, but that's what's also awesome is you mentioned learning the rules. Like this is how the right way is. I think music absolutely is one of those things where you learn the rules so you can break them.
yeah,
Like it's
definitely, definitely,
absolutely
definitely,
that, but it is vital to know the rules,
yeah,
because if you start out with, say you start out your gain is really high, or you're not gain staging correctly, or just you start out with something fundamentally wrong, then you're going to have to learn the hard way of why that sounds that way. And it's easier to just learn the rules and then just start breaking them like crazy. I think music's got to be the number one art for that. I mean, besides maybe visual art and stuff, but that I've found that to ring true a lot. But remember your fundamentals, because you can get too abstract sometimes, and you're like, "What's going on? I have all
yeah,
this going on." So I really resonate with that. I
yeah,
do. Moving on from that, this is something I don't think I'm going to be talking with many other guests about. So, but I love it a lot. So, video games are a big part of your life, as they are mine.
yeah.
Course, have to give you your flowers. You were number one on Rocket League on the Nintendo Switch in the world. That is an incredible achievement. And any of us who've played Rocket League have had that hair pulling out moment, like, I can't, this is so difficult, or, and seeing people do the craziest trick shots, and I sometimes still see you like post every now and then, like somebody doing a crazy like goal that's
Yeah.
just seemingly impossible. How did you get into Rocket League, and what kept you so fascinated by it? I know for me, it's like the simplicity of it breeds complexity. Kind of like the game of Go is like this simple game, but because of simplicity, it invites complexity into it.
Yeah.
So how did you get into it?
Man, So like I'm not really like I wasn't well with the Switch thing. I was number one in saves on the Switch when when Rocket League got released on the Switch. It was a couple years after it was released everywhere else.
Mhm.
So I was like one of the first and few people to play it. I have a group of friends that I met that I still game with now. We all met on the Switch. So I was like,
That's awesome.
we were all like up on the list. I was like number one in saves, and I had like 2s and 3s. So I wasn't like exactly the top guy, but in saves it was great disparity between the next one. But it all started because I've never really been much of a gamer. Like I know other gamers were around me because it was me. It was just like music. Music was my thing.
Right.
I had like, but there's very few times there's like games where I'm like, oh, I like this. It hits the perfect niche. There was Sonic Racing, All Stars Racing Transform, and I just kart raced, and I did that. I used to play it. I was played that one. I then Pokemon X. Somebody gifted me Pokemon X on a DS. Became obsessed. Played that. Was training and doing all that stuff. So then, that was my game, but I still was like mostly doing music. I had this. I had heard of Rocket League, and I was like, soccer with cars. That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Just kind of thought that passed. And I went over to a friend's house, and he was like, I got Rocket League. I said, let's do it. We played, and I'm like, oh, this is exactly like how I pictured. This is crazy. Didn't think nothing. We played it. Didn't think nothing of it. But I was like, yo, that's like a perfect game to me. I love sports, but I also love when there's like a extreme element added to a sports. Like, remember the EA sports games?
Oh my
Used to play all those. Like, I love when there's like a twist that's like a power up added to sports. Any,
NBA Street,
NBA Street, NBA Jam. There's like all this moment. And Rocket League would seem like that, you got cars and soccer. It could be goofy, but I was
with
like
rockets on them.
yeah, that was pretty sick, man. Somebody gifted me a PlayStation.
Shouts out to them.
Yeah, man. I lost a lot of time. Like it became pretty wild. Like at the time, because like I had never been like the competitiveness of it, and like the chance to do like the craziest stuff and train and learn to do that stuff and the ranking. I just was like, it was too much overload. Like I didn't rap. Well, I was saying I was rapping, but like I would come home from work and be on the game, and like there'd be times I'd be like sit just play game after game up, and then I'd be like, oh no, it's like 10 in the morning. Like,
oh my gosh,
like it got bad. You can ask my girl, it got bad. But like, yeah, I just fell in love with like the sports and competitive like aspect of it and getting better and doing like tricks and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really fun. I don't know what to say. It's just like super fun. It's like a dream game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You just found the game that's like feels like it was made for exactly for you. You know, like that what you would like. And so you found that kind of internal passion or nostalgia from like Sonic Racing with Rocket League combining and like putting a new twist on that. What was it about Pokemon that kind of brought that out from you? Did you play Pokemon as a kid ever? Did you play any of the original ones?
Yeah, my first game I got was Pokemon came out in school, all the everybody came to school with cards, and I'm like, yo, and I begged my friend for a card, and he was like, here, I think he gave me like a Pidgey or a potion or something. It's everybody's Pokemon craze went different. My grandmother, she was the main supporter of my Pokemon habits. She used to give me like the booster packs of cards.
Wow,
and she got me my first Game Boy. It was the purple Game Boy, the clear Game Boy with Pokemon Silver, and I don't know. That was another game, and it's just like I played it, and I was just like, yeah, I'm meant to be doing this. I love Pokemon. Didn't play it, and then grew up and just kind of just didn't play it, and then like I had this adult moment where I'm like, damn, let me see what's been going on. I played it, and like again, the competitive aspect of battling. I think I like competing against people in a field, and like trying to rank and be like either the best in the world, the best in that hunger, that motivation is just like that's what keeps me going. That's kind of like how I rap. I just like to wake up and be like, what can I do that I haven't done, that people haven't done? What can I do that's just like, you know what I'm saying? It's like a sport to me. What technique or what can I, learn? So like Like, yeah, it's just like the competitive aspect. I found out there were like online battles and ranking. Yeah, I lost a lot of time to that too. Just like training and building different stats. You know, I don't do, like I said, it's either hip hop or I'm doing something like completely nerdy or just like something like trying to get good at something. So yeah, on that, I ended up getting like, I was ranked, my best accomplishment. I was like ranked 66 in the world, like battling just online. Like,
Wow, and this is
yeah,
Pokemon.
yeah, I
Like this,
almost
that's
got. I think I
wow,
was 60 or 66, something like that. But I
wow.
was close to getting number one, and just like, there's a certain level where you get up. Yeah, them guys know what they doing.
Yeah,
It's just, it gets a
start
little
getting
crazy. I knew what I
yeah.
was doing, but like I got to a point, and I was just like, I ain't never seen that before.
Oh yeah.
Like, I do my best, but yeah, I just love being like competitive and
Hmm.
you know, just that I don't know. It's just really fun. It really feeds me. Like that drive. Because it's not only fun to like really test your skills and acquire things and be people. It's also like a self improvement discipline sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
Just there's rewards in it.
Yeah, yeah, the reward. I hear that same sentiment from a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends in the FGC or the fighting game community, and they are so in love with that discipline that you learn how to read people and
Yeah,
like when
yeah,
and when the fighting game community like they start counting frames. They are able to tell by frame like which move to do and trying to playing this mental chess game with your
yeah,
opponent just right on the spot like where every single second counts. And I see the thrill of it. Like I've never been really that good at any of like fighting games, but I consider myself like I'm kind of like a basement king amongst my friends and Smash Brothers,
yeah.
Smash Ultimate. So just like the basement king syndrome is like I'm the best of my friends. As soon as I went, I performed at a Smash tournament that was being held in Louisville,
Nice.
and boy did I get checked. It was
Yeah,
so I performed against this girl was so crazy with it. She did the move with Link where you throw the bomb off the edge and then you use it to propel yourself back up onto the stage. I was just using tech that was blowing my
yeah,
mind. I'm like, this is so cool. I like the levels of it, of the
yeah,
competitiveness. It's like the tiers, where in like Rocket League, you have like your I think it's like gold and diamond and all, and it's like that reward of I'm now a part of this new tier, and now there's new tech
yeah.
to 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 lab and stuff. And I know there's lots of labbing that's done in fighting games. I'm not sure how that's really done in Pokemon, but like there's also in Pokemon, it's like all these types and effects, and so you're bouncing like the types versus the effects, and kind of if you don't, do you usually know what your opponent's Pokemon are going to be before you battle them?
Man, that's where it gets like crazy because like essentially overall it's like a children's game, but the competitive scene in Pokemon just like
It's
they added a
worldwide.
lot of stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. And like what becomes, like you said, like what becomes what is usually like, oh, I'm gonna just use, at first you're like, I'm gonna just use the strongest Pokemon, I'm gonna use this, and then you run into things you learn. It ends up becoming like more so like reading your opponent, be like, okay, I have the Pokemon, this, he's gonna lead with that one. Or this seems like a skill type, you're a higher rank. He probably knows I'm gonna lead with this. So let me
Right.
switch this. Let me have this in the back just in case this fails. And then you're thinking 3 steps ahead. Then
Yeah.
you're also thinking like, okay, oh, I got myself in a situation. How can I get out? And like, yeah, it's pretty. And then like the typings and different, like reading different type. There's 18 different types and a bunch of different weaknesses. Like I think that's what really drives me. Not necessarily the monster aspect, but like you're really playing like, there's just been countless times like I've played like just mental games with you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like you got these little creatures, but like you're seriously sitting playing mental games because you're like, you'll know off certain moves, like, oh, I can take this guy. Or like
Hmm.
somebody will do something and be like, oh shit, I gotta respect this. And
Yeah.
it'll be
Yeah.
something simple, but like you gotta be like, all right, cool, how can I move this with such, limited moves. Like even Rocket League, there's so many, it's pretty limited. There's boost jump. Even in the fighting games, there's like, there's only so many hits you can do, but knowing and reading when, you know, reading the environment and
Yeah.
stuff. That's like the fun part of it. Like, because
Yeah.
you could really like think yourself into a matrix trying to like
Yeah, absolutely.
and all you're trying to do is win the game. Like, it's pretty fun. It's
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. It sounds like chess. Like
Yeah.
thinking all these moves ahead, assuming with like making educated guesses of what your opponent is doing or going to do many steps ahead, and
Yeah.
also getting to the level where it's like knowing or thinking ahead that assuming what your opponent will assume of you because of what you've done.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And
Like, yeah.
that's really fun. For some people, that's a nightmare, but I
Yeah.
love that as well. And
Yeah.
I think that's definitely the allure of these types of games. Like, you know, chess being one of the oldest ones, but of course now up to like Pokemon, where it has that complexity and it's a tight system that makes it work.
Mhm.
So I really loved hearing about that. I wish oftentimes I had like a hyperbaric time chamber where I could play like my backlog of video games, because
Yeah.
like I think we all have like a backlog when it comes to movies. You know, we have friends like, you should watch this. I'll put it on the list. You know, you should play this game. I want to. I wish I had the time.
Yeah.
And TV shows, of course, there's plenty of them. Is there any games like on your backlog that you wish you had the time to play, but you're like, I can't play through all the Final Fantasy games, you know, I can't, or it's like something like that.
If I'm thinking off of just like off rip, I'm thinking Kingdom Hearts. I don't think I had a system when that whole trip
Yeah.
thing was going out, and I want to like play it, but I'm also like, you know, like I'm just like, I got other stuff to do, and then like I'm trying to think. I mean, I'd have to pop up in the moment, but I know there's a few games that like, there's also games I just blatantly I'm like, yeah, I'm not even gonna try to start because I know how I get.
Yeah,
like I'll sit here and like, I'll be gone for like 2 years. You know,
my family won't see me for.
But like, y'all won't be able to get me for 2 years. I got something to do. So like, there's some games I stay away, but like other than that, like I just not necessarily like. I'm a very simple guy. I've never been like a gamer like, oh, this comes out. I got to experience this RPG. Like if it's like the details of the game really speak to me, then I'm like, I'm either not upset, like I'm obsessed, or I'm like,
yeah,
you know?
I gotcha. I'm pretty much that way too. Now that I've gotten older, I used to have it like IV, you know, dripped in where it's like all gaming news, all the YouTube channels, daily updates on just Nintendo products, daily updates on just like what I knew what they were talking about at shareholder meetings and video game companies. I was like really tapped in. And then now I found it's like, well, there's going to be the big games that I just know these companies I trust, or sometimes an indie game comes out that's like really shakes things up. That's like, okay, I got to check this out. But I find, you know, and then there's the people, it's like, which is normal video game consumption I found. It's just like, when's the next GTA coming out? We'll play that. When's the next Bethesda game? Yeah. Like when Bethesda drops or when Rockstar drops a game, you know, and the new Red Dead, it's like, we're going to stop what we're doing and check it out. Yeah. It's like, it's the biggest game company and they put all this money into it and their teams are giant and it's just something to experience. It's like a moment in history. You know, when San Andreas comes out, that was a moment in history for video games because it really kind of shook up what we thought was possible. Yeah. And I love like just in tech, in everything, but in video games, how there's always a point where we're like, I think we know more now. I think because we've learned from the past, but when we went from our magnetic tape, to digital, which happened in our lifetimes, we kept having these moments. We either ourselves or our parents would look at the game we're playing and be like, this is the best it's ever going to get. Yeah. It's like, this is peak. And I was asked a really great question the other day. It's like, what do you think, how technological do you feel like someone from the 1950s thought their society were? Like, how do you think their mindset would be on that is? And I was like thinking like, oh, I don't know. They probably think, and they're like, well, they thought they had the best technology the world had because they did, and they were stoked about it. It's not the way we think. We're not excited for what potentially could happen, 10 10 years from now, we're really stoked about what we have going on now.
Yeah.
I love seeing just video games be like meet all these different goals and these checkpoints. It's like now going from like 2D to 3D, 8-bit to 16-bit to 32-bit to like The Last of Us or like the new Final Fantasy games that just look, I mean, like real life, indistinguishable from real life, and some of them. So it's been a really incredible time to just be alive, you know, because we've got to see, you know, people who were born in the 70s, they got to see the birth of video games, you know, and now, and seeing to where, like from Pong to Pac-Man to now, it's like, wow, we got virtual reality headsets people just stay all day in. You know, there's YouTube videos of people who say like, I spent a week in my VR headset and this is how it went, and I documented it. And it's like there are it, and I watched. It's just insane, like how different it's gone. It's gone from, you know, playing on the couch with your friend to being in a VR world with your friend across the world, playing like Pong or playing like ping pong or playing games together or racing together. It's like, where is does this plateau? Like where does this go from here?
Yeah.
But last thing on one of the last thing on video games I want to ask you is, has there been a video game soundtrack that is very memorable to you, that you're like, wow, this is hidden different, like this is a video game soundtrack that stood out to you?
I mean, for me, Sonic and Pokemon, because
Sonic, the Green Hill Zone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. So I think Sonic sticks out. I want to say a little bit more of Pokemon, because there's that one, and there's the tune from when you're doing the Dr. Robotnik battle, and it's like dun, 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 dun. Like, yeah, that one sticks out in my mind. And then, you know, obvious Pokemon tones, like, you know, the
Pokemon, man.
I don't know, the different route zones. I would start singing them, but you probably wouldn't know which ones I was singing. There's a bunch in my head. But yeah, they kind of just bring this, like, it's crazy how much intricacies or how much it kind of emotionally moves you with this, like the 8-bit, is that the right word, like the 8-bit sound, like it's when you're, you know, when you listen to it, it's like do 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 do, but when you like walk away from it and it's stuck in your head, you're like, yo, they really went. Somebody was in there going ham, like somebody was cooking, like,
absolutely,
on the 8-bit. And it's like, it's really remarkable, just because, like, it's crazy how they use those tones to just really like develop this feeling of like home inside you.
Oh yeah,
you know, you're like, yeah, like, damn, that's crazy.
Feeling welcome.
Besides that, obvious things like Tony Hawk, like kind of. Yeah. I saw a discussion online earlier talking about it. Tony Hawk introduced me to. You know, this album or whatever. Yeah, Tony Hawk soundtrack. There was a lot of games like that I played, snowboard and BMX. So they were just, you know, I had those soundtracks that made me, you know, listen to different music like that. But I can't. I guess I'd have to like go back and think. But there's not really a soundtrack that really stands out, because I know there are like great ones that people talk about and they're like, yo, the music on there is like, you know, I don't really have anything that really stands out to me. Like nowadays, I play like games with the sound off. I'm kind of weird. Like I play Rocket League with the sound off. Like, you know, talking to my friends and stuff. It's like, but
yeah, I mean, shouts out to the people behind making the Pokemon music, and just so these were musicians and people writing music for this game that had this huge restraint, and it was the amount of memory they were allowed to use on that chip, and you didn't want to take up anything that was vital to the game. So you were kind of, with the music, you were left with what was essentially just what's left. And they're like, just use what you can. And so they're working with the absolute minimum amount of digital information that they could put in there. And I've seen like pictures of like Japanese studios, whether it's Pokemon or it's Square Enix, but there's like everybody's typing away at their computers. and are like designing the level and stuff. And in the corner, they have a separate room for the guy making the music, and he's in there with like a bass guitar, mapping the tones to MIDI, and just going crazy on a bass guitar, and like map. And then he has to take that and map it into MIDI information. But sometimes they, in early days, they would just, program it in just like we do with piano roll, where you kind of just drag and drop these notes. This is where they would go. And then you just make that almost like close to binary level information where that you have to make this music into. And what I found is fascinating is like the old stuff, the oldest stuff, there is no like uncompressed version. It was made as a compressed version, but some sound designers in some old games, I think it's like Crash Bandicoot is one of these, Skull Island I think is one of them, or Monkey Island I think is called, where they had the game has the compressed version, but there's actually like audio out ports on the back of the console on some specific consoles like the Sega Genesis and stuff, where you can route out the uncompressed audio, the information that is on there. And I think it was for discs versions of the game, where the game the console couldn't function by running the uncompressed audio and the game at the same time. So you got the compressed version, but you could route out the audio and hear the original. And it was like crazy night and day. You got this like bits and bops of information that turns into this like symphony of all this high fidelity information. I was like, that's incredible. And it's so great that you're able to access that. And but going back to Pokemon Silver, like that soundtrack, all the routes, that's one of my comfort blankets I have. If I ever feel really stressed or panicky, I will put on Pokemon Silver's soundtrack, and it just brings me back to this place of peace. I know all of them by heart. I love them. I'm not as good as saying like I could hear a few notes and be like Route 8 or but I know them intimately in my heart, and I that soundtrack especially is just shouts out to that audio team, like because they've just working under those constraints. It's like it's not only make great music, but make it with the smallest amount of fidelity as possible, and having that constraint. But it's also something that can be, I imagine, like a really fun challenge. It just reminds me. This is kind of related, but have you heard of Tierra?
Yeah.
So she came out with this album, Whack World, where she seemingly imposed a limit for herself. And the limit was every song had to be 1 minute exactly. And she came out with 15 songs. Every single song is 1 minute on the dot. And that challenge as an artist is, I loved that. Like, I don't know where the idea stemmed from. If she made a song that was 1 minute and then she made a second that was 1 minute, and then she's like, oh, maybe we can do something here. Or if it was from the start, a restriction she put on herself, but it allowed her to come out with a music video, which was the whole album, 15-minute long music video. Have you like thought of or do you ever get like really in your head, like, how can I approach this beat? Like, how can I approach this song in a really different out of the box manner? And do you have any examples of that?
I guess not sometimes. Sometimes I do certain restrictions or certain like guidelines, like, ooh, I don't want to venture outside of maybe using these type of words or saying these type of, flow. But a lot of my projects usually kind of come from a type of restriction or lane or sound that I'm trying to achieve. I had a summer kind of soundtrack. What was that? Blazing Horizon. That EP. I was like, okay, I'm going to use it wasn't like a crazy restriction. I was like, I'm going to use chords from like organs and things like that, and also actual bass, but try to make it like a trap sound. So those were like, that was like the goal with that one. Or yeah, like sometimes, sometimes I'll do things like that, but never really anything as strict as that. But that does breed a lot of fun. That we used to do workshops with kids where we'd be like, oh, you can only, we teach them to make beats, like you can only use 4 sounds, or you know, you'd be surprised how little you need, like with these type restrictions, to do certain things, or almost like the video game situation. You give a simple premise, like here's the structure, and then it becomes, I gotta do, like, you know, I gotta work within these guidelines and would come up with something really interesting.
Yeah, there's something about the rule set that we crave, because we crave. I feel like it may come from our craving of structure. It's like we know that these rules are solid to live by because there's so many things we're unsure of, you know, in life. So when we go into this game or whatever it is that has this strict rule set, and we know the rules, and we just need to start gamifying these rules to our advantage, it kind of it brings some comfort. You mentioned when you're doing workshop with kids, you work with Amped.
Yeah, I worked with them for a little bit. I like, you know, they sometimes call me to, you know, do certain things. Like, yeah, I'll fill in for the summer sometimes if he needs it. Yeah, but yeah, I was working with kids. That wasn't my strong suit. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't like bad at it, but like I still was like, I'm kind of like nervous around like kids, because like I could either go, you know, I could either be like real belligerent, you know, or like be cursing and doing things, or like I'm always just like afraid I'm gonna say the wrong thing, or I'm just afraid of kids. You know, kids, they all start joking on you, and then like it's a rap. You know what I mean? But like I tried to, you know, we work with a lot of youth around, you know, showing. Shout out to Amp, because Amp is just doing awesome. It's crazy. We always talk about this, like imagine having that as a youngster, like growing up with us, because we didn't get a lot of. We were mostly. The resources weren't, like, we had to do a lot to get certain things we had to know somebody to record certain places or have certain access to certain things when we were younger, and like, you know, we gradually had to grow to get these resources, and now there's a place where, you know, kids can, like, you can start young and like, no, here's access to all this stuff. We're gonna teach you. You know, you learn from, you know, real musicians like us. I mean, not to, you know, anybody's a real musician, but like you learn from people who are also doing their own thing, growing and learning, and it's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Paving a pathway for the next generation to make their lives easier, so they don't have to go through all this red tape that you had to go through. It's like the same thing you want for your children. You want to give them an easier life. You work hard to make sure that they don't have to go through the same struggles that you've had to go through. And yeah, Louisville having Amped is such a gift. I can't think of many other cities or programs like it. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, you're teaching, Amped is teaching kids like how to use DAWs and how to record and make hip hop beats. And it really does make you say, like, I can't imagine like this when I was growing up, and it really is special. I mean, and you know, it's great looking forward and seeing like we've progressed and made our city more compassionate towards young people, and once again paving a way for them, like so that they aren't so lost, or didn't have to go, you know, to kind of fumble around in the dark like we had to when we were young. And while we're talking about establishments like Amped, and just things that have to do with local hip hop, it's topical because it's happening, I believe, this weekend. LouiEvolve. So you've been involved intimately with LouiEvolve for quite some time. What has changed in Louisville's music culture since LouiEvolve started, and where we're at now?
I don't know. LouiEvolve was I think it's grown into something different than what it was. Not in a negative way, but just like it's just grown into something different than how it started off. It's kind of cool to see, you know, it seems like every year they get something like newer or they take a step further. I don't know. If you know, it's cool. I think it's really kind of cool. Although I can see it gets, you know, for an artist, it gets kind of convoluted. Like, you know, who's on the bill, who's not, and all this. Like, who's this, and everybody has their feelings about all this stuff. You know, aside from all like if we just like aside from all that, because this is just like at home problems. This we see it, see all the stuff around it, but like it's super dope that like everybody in the city is kind of looking forward to something that's so homegrown. That's like
Mm,
you know powerful and like shifting. Like it's really like it's a festival. You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah,
And like seeing how hip hop gets treated in this city on a lot of different other frontiers or just in a general attitude, it's nice to have a space where it's like, yo, we are us out here, let's
yeah,
do it. So shout out to Tay and Dave and, the rest of the staff for always, you know, putting on and doing their thing. I see they're growing and, adapting to more technology and getting to be a bigger festival. It's awesome. Yeah.
yeah. It's great. It's one of those grassroots things that like movements that make you really proud to be or not just proud to be like a part of this community but reminds you of like why you do what you do.
Hmm.
And it's such a tough undertaking because as you said you can't please everybody when you're doing this process.
Yeah.
There's a finite amount of people who can perform, so it's an unenviable task to do, but when you do it you're uplifting the city all
Yeah.
together and and inspiring young people to just like Puckett did is like telling young people you are talented, you are deserving of a platform, and I want you to be heard. And that's exactly what
Yeah.
they're doing with this festival. So
Hmm.
I'm so glad to see it back, and yeah, I remember one of my first times going, was one where you had to go. It was on Bardstown. You had to go one side of the street to
Yeah.
see your
Yeah.
favorite,
Yeah.
and then you go to the other side of the street to see somebody perform. Uh, yeah, I think the Mammoth is a great venue.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Last year, Portal seemed to work out really well.
Hmm.
Having two stages in one venue was a really good idea. They did the same thing at Mammoth. I'm not sure if they're going to do the performing on the bus again, but I hope they do. That was such a cool idea. Shouts out to Casey Powell for having to deal with the audio the audio of that situation.
Was that last year?
Yeah, last
Okay,
year
yeah, I didn't. I
on
missed that
day
one.
one, they ran the audio on top of a double-decker bus.
I remember seeing the
And
video of it. Yeah,
it was like, yeah, that's another unenviable task of like how like a live stage is enough. That's a full job, but running it all like having the monitors on top of there, it's just it was such a cool idea and it all worked
yeah,
out. It was
it's
great.
fun. Yeah, it's always a good space to like keep it hip hop because like honestly, we wish wish there was just like wish all a lot of of the city was more culturally accepting of hip hop, but I mean there's certain things come with hip hop that
Right.
work with the American life,
Yeah.
in quotes. But like, people just want to hang out, smoke a little herb, hang out with their homies,
Mhm.
listen to some rap, sing, just just have a space where we
Yeah.
create, be graffiti and just be our artist self, that, you know, and it's like what we wish we could do all year just kind of gets compressed into like these 3 days. And like, yeah, I just,
Yeah.
I remember going in and just being like, a blissful 3 days, like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you're home, but it don't feel like home. Like everybody's like focused on rapping.
Yeah.
Everybody's focused on like performing, and like everybody's doing. Even if everybody's doing well, there's always something new. It's pretty fun. Pretty fun.
Yeah. Shouts out LouisEvolve.
Shout
Shouts
out.
out Amped. Shouts out Poor Castle.
Oh yeah, Castle,
Absolutely.
another one, man. Like yeah, we have a great
Yeah.
city.
We
I know
really
it.
do.
I know. I feel like a lot of the attitudes from a lot of people is just like, oh, Louisville's just this or that, or people don't,
Mhm.
It's always like, but like if you really like, there's a power. We have like a powerful art culture here,
We do.
powerful music culture. Um, it's
Mhm.
dope. I love it. You know what I'm saying? You see like I'm just influenced by you and hanging around a lot of people. It's fun. It's like a playground, and like I really like want to take advantage of like what like the moment we're like, well, what a time to be alive. It's awesome. It's
Absolutely.
pretty awesome.
It really is an incredible time
Yeah.
to be around where everything is exponentially changing.
Yeah.
From when we were young once again to now it's like we live in a whole different world.
Yeah.
Everything's changed. Um it is really incredible the city we live in. And yeah, I think it's easy for anybody from any city to say things are not great here,
Yeah.
because that's what we're fed. You know,
Yeah.
the news, and when we're scrolling on social media, uh, just for the news, for example, it's just you're going to hear a lot of negative things because those are the tension grabbing things. You're not going to hear Dom B helped an old lady cross the street today,
Yeah.
and we really just think that's great, and we'd like to share that with you. We're going to share some statistics that are upsetting, and that this crime happened.
It's
But
crazy.
we don't cover small acts of kindness.
No.
We don't cover these things like how vibrant our city's culture is. And so it's easy for people who aren't in it, kind of intertwined with the culture and going out to these shows and being reminded, hey, and we all need that reminder because we have these devices and everything that's kind of always telling it things are bad, things are terrible, but we sometimes need a reminder, and
Yeah.
things like LouisEvolve and Amped shows that there is some real like, people are good, and our city is vibrant and beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So do you have a certain philosophy that you live your life by? Is there some like a mantra or anything that you have a pretty strict rule set for, or just a rule set that you try to live your life by that you found that has brought you to where you are today?
Um, just like I don't know, exist and attack. I know that's kind of like my original thing is just like find something like about humanity to fall in love with. Like we're here, we're alive. There's certain
Mhm.
goals, there's financial goals we want to reach. There's, social goals. There's all these things in society that are put on us, but like your body is like naturally drawn to do something, whether it's something your bloodline or lineage has done or something your spirit like is drawn to. Everybody needs to find some type of love that like can like feeds themselves. Cause like,
Mm.
I found like I've always had like a lot of passion projects, but I've always found when I like dedicate myself to getting better at a certain thing or something, there's always something I need to adjust or change or I learn about myself that allows me to be like, oh, I need to get tighter here, or oh, I can do this. I am, I am, that's my thing is just find something to like fall in love with. Like, you know what I'm saying? Mine is rap, somebody's could be oil painting, somebody could be crocheting, something,
Yeah.
anything, gardening, feeding the community, you know, something that really leaves your mark on humanity because for one, you deserve it. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
deserve it in this lifetime. And like two, like that's just a language that you can like, that's how you can reach people. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
That's how you reach other people. That's how we become happier people, like people getting to do what they want to do. You know what I mean? That's why like the internet age is kind of crazy. You get to see a bunch of people doing weird stuff on social media. These people have probably always been doing this weird stuff.
Yeah.
Now they get to share it with you, and they get to live off it. They get to pay. You know what I'm saying? You get to pay them. It's like find
Mhm.
something that like you can speak through. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, find something you can speak through, find the beauty in life.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that a message kind of intertwined with what you said was, I feel like a lot of young people, we've always been kind of forced into like a box, like a square piece trying to go into a triangle spot, where they say you're going to be this, or this. But humanity is a spectrum, like we we're not all doctors, lawyers, blah blah
No.
blah. We there's a spectrum to what our skill set is. So no, just recognizing that you're not going to fit into a preordained, you know, shape that someone has made for you. You go out and find your own, and
Hmm.
find what really makes you happy. Because if you don't chase that, then you will most likely be unhappy for a long time till you realize I should be doing what I love doing.
Yeah.
People will get into something because it's trendy, or they think that the people around them will respect them for liking it. But if they don't like it, they find later on that they
Mhm.
don't like it themselves at all.
Or it
And
makes them a bunch of money, or
right.
yeah, just
So I think that's an important message.
yeah. It's important. It's also, I mean, it's important to do, other things and like challenge yourself and grow. But I think that discipline really like really bleeds into a lot of other things in your life too, as well. And I don't mean discipline is like a strict kind of way, but like discipline isn't like you have a basic about you're just like I'm at home being this and doing this and learning this. Like you just have an identity, oh, I don't need to do that to be this person. Or you just like you have like a home base to come back to if life gets crazy. Or yeah.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely. I wonder what you think about this. I was writing the docket for this, and this came up in my mind to ask you. This going back to us living in like a ever evolving world tech wise. In 1953, this guy named Ray Bradbury, he wrote a book called Fahrenheit 451.
mhm.
And in the book, a character named Lisa, it's the wife of the main character, Guy, and she puts on a pair of clamshell headphones to listen to her music. And not long after the book's published, some gentlemen from Sony show up at his house with a actual like example of it, a like beta version of headphones, the first headphones, over the ear headphones. And I thought that was just so fascinating how this, this artist, this author, something in his mind could manifest into a technological product that we now find is like just part of everyday life. Like it's fundamental. So do you think we still live in a world where somebody like Ray Bradbury cannot just reinvent the wheel, but discover or invent something that we will come to see as fundamental to music, either in how it's made or how we engage with it that we had no concept of before?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think that's definitely can happen, could happen, should happen. I feel like our world is more geared towards a more corporate kind of understanding. So that's where like the arts is needed to feed that, and it's not really like I can't really honestly, at least maybe I don't get out much, but I don't see a world where there's like the arts are intertwining with culture in that way. Like, in some spaces I'm sure probably, but like yeah, I feel like that's kind of like goes back to what we were talking about, just about like how just like how artists, I don't know, man. I forgot what I was gonna say. Just forgive me. But like
Okay.
yeah, I believe like yeah, like the world can still
There can still be new innovations that
yeah.
that if we've yet to see, because it's easy to think, oh, we've kind of come to this plateau with music and like how it's recorded. We use microphones, we
Yeah.
use this, and so I thought maybe when spatial audio first dropped, Dolby Atmos,
Yeah.
when that first dropped and it was integrated into Logic in a way where I started hearing, The Weeknd and Billie Eilish came out with their spatial audio Dolby Atmos albums. And for those who don't know, Dolby Atmos spatial audio takes advantage of gyroscopes inside headphones that stay stable and keep track of where your head is at, whether it's a tilt or down, and
Yeah.
compensate for things like if you're in an airplane and you're going up in a headphone, it keeps the sound level and takes things like that into mind. And so when it first came out and I was watching a movie with it and listening to music with it, I was like, this could be like the next thing, but it requires it requires a peripheral, which is the gyroscoping headphones,
Yeah.
which is found in like, maybe Bose or AirPods. And I started playing around with it. And I remember I took like some piano keys, and in Logic, they have the user interface shows a human head about to the shoulders. And it lets you place the sound in a 3D space around the head.
That's
And
exciting.
not only that, but you can set tracks and animations are tracking.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
what I had done is I made a song where things are kind of mixed normally, but I had the keys circle around the subject's head, the audience, whoever's listening. So the keys, you'd hear them go at this part of your ear, and
Yeah.
then back around, and then spin really fast, stop, and then go up into the air, and then spread across, like really spread the signal. And I was doing this, and I was thinking, this might be the next thing.
Yeah.
But it seems to have not been the next thing. We've kind of seen Dolby Atmos come and go, and a lot of major motion pictures are still, they have that Dolby Atmos option. I see it in HBO Max. Like they have, it's like, oh, this is also available in Atmos, but most people don't experience it. It's almost like it's basically it's a way of experiencing that 7.1 surround system, or like 7 to 11 speakers in your room, but with 2 headphones, somehow creating a 3D space, a surround sound system with just a stereo binary speaker system. And so I was thinking that might be the next thing, but you know, we things could start getting really weird, like how we capture audio. We may start thinking the microphone is something more primitive, and start maybe link in. Let's start getting a little science fiction-y here, but you know, our consciousness being recorded into music. If we have Neuralink and stuffing, people being able to do Google search with their mind only via Neuralink, which has been proven and shown. Watched a TED Talk on that, which is, you know, it can be scary, but it can also be great, because people who are paraplegic can now use the internet. They can use a computer, and they do it well, all with their mind. And I wonder about things like how, if we can record that and get images from our thoughts that can be deciphered by AI and computers, how will the arts kind of introduce themselves to that? If you're thinking of a melody, you know, we've kind of got this cool medium now where it's like the plugin where you can like do a drum pattern with your mouth.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
And it turns into MIDI information. Well, what if MIDI information from your consciousness can be recorded, and the microphone is no longer a part of the process? So I tend to think about those kinds of things. Is there a innovation that you would like to see, of like a quality of life innovation that you would be like, oh, this would be great if I had this, it would make my workflow better, while still retaining the humanity of it?
For me, I mean, I wish I mean, I don't I don't know. I guess like my thing would be like, I wish there was like a Porta studio. I wish like, well, I mean, I carry out all my homes. I've always been a DIY kind of guy. So when I travel, even when I went to France, I bought my microphone. I bought my microphone, my machine. I bought everything. I bring everything. Awesome. Like if I don't usually go anywhere without, you know, I always try to make a beat in the hotel and feel the vibes. I just like to just stay work. Like I like to make hip hop like it's just like an active part of my life. So it'd be nice if I could just like have something, you know, the size of your phone. You walk around and press a button and like, and like, like there's just like a studio or a recording situation where you catch a vibe and make things, you know, almost like even like I guess I'm thinking of this as we go now. Like imagine like, you know, there's something, you sit down and like you press the button and then like, and like a studio has a screen with the mic in front of you and you can like make beats in like this pod. You know what I mean? Like while you're sitting down, that'd be cool. I mean, that's some like sci-fi sort of something. I guess I could think that'd be cool. But I mean, from a more practical sense, I don't know. I don't know what I mean, from a more practical sense, I wish there was something you could like, that was really high powered that you could produce on, that was like maybe a phone size or something. Cause like there's sometimes like I get beats or certain ideas in my head that like I know I'm like, I'm not gonna remember this, or there's no way I can like record this into a phone to translate what I'm going to do. I'm going to forget. Like I wish there was like a, you know, maybe there is, but like it, like not even, you know, right now we have like maybe the machine or the NPC, what's the one, Touch, where you can travel around, but like maybe something even smaller where you can kind of like really produce and have like a good amount of power on it and like export and have a song, you know, an MP3 boom or maybe something like that. That'd be cool.
And just better processing power and on smaller devices.
Yeah, I wish there was just like
you
a
don't have to have a
DAW
whole like setup. That's like it's all kind of an all-in-one situation.
Yeah, I wish there was like a DAW device. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, and it
yeah.
was like really, really powerful. Like, you know, you could, you know, maybe not record in it, but like you could really produce in it. And like it would take a lot of, you know, probably a lot of energy. But how technology moves, at some point in the future, you'll probably have the whole Spitfire symphony on your, you know, phone, or like I'm going to just lay a crazy choir thing, and you got the, you know, the know-how and the work to do it. Like, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and I see that happening already. A friend of mine got an iPad recently, and I had forgotten, but I remember hearing it from one of the Apple announcements, but they put Logic on the iPad.
Right.
Not just Logic, they put Final Cut Pro, these things that have
that's
always been just Mac only, and now it's on the iPad. I can go on Logic and Final Cut Pro on my iPad screen. Like that was mind blowing to me, and I almost had this moment where I was like, my brain was like rebelling against, like I don't even want to know about that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
that's
like
the old head
like,
kind of.
You're just like, no, it's too easy.
That's
you're
too
like,
much.
No, like, it can't be that easy.
And you know, you think back to like I was recording, you know, on a boombox from a cassette tape to a cassette tape, recording the beat first, and then having to one take it, and you're like, wow. It's the democratization of music, as I talked about with Simile. You know, it's wonderful. It's really great, but I don't see too many cons. I think some artists could say, you know, it's saturating the game or whatever, but it allows everybody a fair chance. And I think that's what's most important.
Yeah.
But it is mind blowing, to see it becoming on smaller DAWs appearing on smaller and smaller devices, as you said. I think one thing I'd like is there's some work in this, but I'd love to see something that can just like an AI or just something new that can really clean up poorly recorded stems.
Yeah,
I get commissions every now and then from people out of state or whatever, and sometimes the stems are just I call it either repairing or polishing. When I get stems, I either repair or I'm polishing. And when you do repair, it's just I'm trying to make it get to a point where it sounds good.
Yeah, it's feasible.
With polishing, it's like I have everything I need here. Let's make it sound the best it can sound. So I'd love being able to get high fidelity audio from low fidelity source, you know, and it'll be really cool to see how people do that with old produced songs, you know, songs from a long time ago, and the way they kind of can be remastered in certain ways or flipped in certain ways that we hadn't thought of. But I think just as a vocal engineer, I'd love to be able to press a button. It's like, vocals are clean, not mixed, but they're clean, like a clean source.
Like, this is what was recorded. This is what he was trying to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, right. I definitely understand. I feel that.
There's one I use right now called Clarity by Waves that I like a lot. That removes, if somebody's pretty far away from a microphone, it takes that room sound away. And it isolates just the vocal as if they were very close to the microphone. It does a pretty good job of that, but you do get fidelity loss. You do get a weird boost in low end. You're like, it's not perfect yet. Yeah. And I actually, you put me onto Track Spacer, and I really enjoy that so far. As far as I've had some luck with it in vocals. I use it as a last result. If the beat is just mid-range through the roof, I have no room. No matter how much I scoop, I can't do anything with it. I will use Track Spacer to dynamically duck EQ the vocals to the beat, because the old way I would do that is I would, of course, you know, and how everybody else did is throughout the whole song you just have a solid static EQ the whole time. That's just like, it's going to be scooped this whole range because this is where it generally is. Yeah. I like the idea of what Track Spacer does is dynamically doing it. So anything it's being fed into or sidechained into is ducking that frequency. But if you turn it up too much, of course, you hear the song like duck out, and as soon as they stop talking, it comes back to the floor. It has that weird effect. And so I'm just looking forward to new innovations like that. Yeah. I think that'll really help out a lot of young people recording in their dorm rooms or in their bedrooms. You know, because I mean, we really are seeing, you know, you can make a Grammy Award winning album in your bedroom, you know, and in your dorm room. You know, we see it with people we know, and with like Billie Eilish, you know, her story of just like sitting on the ground with the microphone in her hand, just like singing it. And they released the Ocean Eyes original project file that they recorded on Logic. And it was really, really insightful to be, and a gift to be able to open up their project file that they recorded on and just see intimately, like, what does that master chain look like? What does the vocal chain look like? What were they doing with panning and layering? And I once again saw simplicity, beautiful simplicity in that record. And it's like, wow, I still add too much stuff that's just not necessary. That's like, I think it's doing something. It's just when I click it on, I feel like my brain, it's almost placebo effect. I think, but that's the beauty of audio engineering. It's constant. You know, you're always going to be learning throughout the whole process. So when you are writing, recording, or making beats, do you have a kind of ceremonious like way of doing that? Like, do you always like have a show on in the background, or you do it during a certain time of day, or do you have like a certain kind of process for that?
Oh, for me, I try to like, it's just like, it's always been like an everyday. Well, at least rapping's always been like, I'm obsessed with it. Like, yeah, I'm just like obsessed with it because like, and I can do it. I can just do it in I can do it in my head. Like I've always been a deep thinker, and I like to think, you know, like rap gives me a kind of like a way to kind of like use and play with that energy and play with thoughts. And so like for me, it's like an all the time thing. When I guess I don't really have. So you know, when I get free time when my kids sleep, you know, that's my ceremonious moment. So it's usually usually at nighttime. I'm usually up pretty late. You know, making stuff, making beats. Nowadays it just depends. Like if I get the spur of the moment, like I said, I want to try to do this and make it second nature. Like I just do it because I love to do it every day. I more so my writing process, it just depends. Like it's more ceremonious than anything else. Like sometimes like, oh, I need to mix this song, or oh, I need to make a beat. But like my writing process, I'm like, ooh, I'm in this mood. Like, or I'm like, oh, I want to spend some time. A lot of my projects have been me dwelling through Cherokee Park. Like that's like 70-80% of my projects are me like walking. The Frozen Winds cover is me walking through Cherokee Park. Like that's my spot. You know, grab some herb, roll up something, and I just wander. I walk through on all the trails, and I got certain spots where I just sit at and think. But like most of the time, I'm either there reciting raps like a crazy, just yelling them like a crazy person. I'm like just walking, rapping out loud, or like that's just one of my places where like I feel like there's like just a certain energy. I don't know if I'm like imagining this energy, but I feel like a certain energy where I'm like, there's just like I'm tapping into something different, and I can just kind of think, you know, let my flow, you know, just walk around, feel, you know, be within the forest, like the blanket of the woods, like kind of protect me, and I just kind of like right there. But like usually it's just kind of spare the moment. I think of something will happen, I'll be like, oh, I need to put that in the rap. Or I'm like mostly every day I'm like looking, you know, I've always been a sponge. Like I just kind of like every day I'm waking up and like something stands out to me. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put that in. Like, oh, nobody thinks about that. I'm gonna rap about that. Or just like, oh, you know, something's happening to me in my life. I'm gonna put that in there.
Yeah, there's nothing like nature itself to seek inspiration and comfort from.
Yeah.
You said tapping in, like, yeah, nature. That's the number one, and it's the one that we are becoming more and more separated from, seemingly, you know. So it's great to have places like Cherokee Park to go and gain inspiration from, and just be a part of nature for a bit, and just kind of take a breath, you know.
Nature is king. It's crazy how much it seems so. Nature seems so primitive to all the things we have, and we're always advancing. But it's also like the rule. You know what I'm saying? Like everything we have is derived from nature. It's the law. Like, you know, it's like it's a law that just like, you know, that's where we learn everything from. It's where we see. it's so simple and easy to just be like to neglect and get away from, but like just the simpleness of the wind and blowing and rustling the
Mm,
leaves, or feeling safe, feeling or hearing certain textures, or just like grounding, standing in the grass is like it's crazy how much this stuff like just doesn't really give you superpowers, but it's like it seems like the superpower is in the calmness or the
yeah,
flow or the evolution of it, and it's just like
well said. Um, so you do a lot of things. You wear a lot of hats and you play many roles, but one of the ones I admire the most is your role as a father, Blaze's dad.
yeah.
I I really love how that song serves as a time capsule for your son, allowing him to an intimate glimpse of like who you are and what was going on in your life during that time period when he was young. How has fatherhood affected you as a person and an artist?
um It's nice. It took all my time, but it's like a good. But it's like a funny. You know what I'm saying? I always want to work on music, but it's always something that's like it really like makes you ground and sit yourself in the moment and be like, I want to work on music, but like everything's fresh to this dude, and like I really want to make sure he has like he's introduced to a lot of things and had a lot of experience. So as an artist, it like makes me like there's always something more important. Like rap's important, but it always makes me be like, you know what, like I could do that later. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
sometimes it's hard to do that, but sometimes it's like fun. It's like more fun to just be like, damn, like, my son's showing me, giving me something fresh, like we're hanging. But like as a person, it's just like, it's forced me to just be like, to really lean into myself in certain things, forced me to be firmer and give myself more boundaries, give things more boundaries because I'm like, oh, like I gotta be this little dude's like pillar, like he's looking up to me like, oh, I gotta fix. You remember how you looked up to your parents and be like, or some things were out of hand. You're like, fix it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you be like, how did they have the power to do that? And like, it makes you think like I gotta be that now or some things. And it's a new opportunity to grow. There's definitely a lot of frustrating moments, but like I said, I love the challenge of the frustration because like makes you think like, why am I frustrated? And it's like, oh, and it also makes you just like realize how innocent everybody every day is. Like, your
Mm,
toddler's going crazy and doing this, freaking out, or there's a communication barriers. He's trying to, there's frustration. And you're like, he just wants something so simple, sometimes. And like, maybe he just wants this and wants that. And it makes you think about your relationships with other people. And it's like, damn, like they were once a baby. They just wanted, sometimes people just want simple things. And just overall in general, it's just like, I've always wanted to, I guess leave my influence on somebody, not in certain like be like me, but in a way of like, I learned some cool things, learn how to navigate things. It'd be nice to
mhm.
lead somebody with it, and that's what fatherhood is. Yeah, it's just it's it's very trying to think of the way to say just a great experience to like just kind of give somebody your game, like lead them on like I think the things that I wanted in life, I figured out for myself, and now I get to kind of like give you the shortcut to be like, oh, let me help you get here. Let me help you, do the things that I had struggled with and learned with, and also just like you get to have your own journey. You get to watch your kid. Some of this stuff's out of your control. You get to watch your kid have his
Yeah.
own journey and be the person that he's meant to be. And yeah, it's it's, it's crazy experience, heart opening
Yeah.
experience. It's just I love it, and I feel like it's natural. I just want my son to be like cool, you know what I'm saying, have this confidence with himself, have this coolness with himself, and I feel like I get to like I developed that for myself and I get to pass it on, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
If that answers your question. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
It's, fatherhood is the best you can do is impart your wisdom
yeah.
to your child, so that they don't have to learn the hard way in lots of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I love that. Um, is there Anybody in the city that you would like to give any flowers or praise to?
Man, I'm you for one, because what you're doing with these interviews are like really, it's awesome, because like like I said, like I really I put my heart into the scene, and like everything, all the people I've met, everything that we've done, like it really means something to me. It's not like, oh, it's just an event with this guy, I'm with this other rapper. Like, no, I really genuinely appreciate these moments. Like, it's stained in my soul, some of the things that we've done. Like we performed, y'all brought me down to perform for them, like in the square with the mayor. Like, y'all didn't have to, like, it's, I really am genuinely appreciative of everything. So, and you're really documenting our time in people's feelings. So again, um, you know, of course, give my flowers to Ramel, because like he didn't have to. He's his own artist. He didn't have to reach out and, you know, build with us like he did. He did. You know, I'll give flowers to all my homies. I give the flowers to. There's hella names flying off, but I know I'm gonna forget somebody. So, this one's on the fourth. You know, front. Shout out to Smokestown Nave. He's a Louisville legend. You know what I mean? I feel like it doesn't get enough props. Like, he's like, you know, there's a lot of, you know, artists that are really, you know, put in their work that like I feel like are going under the radar. Like Charlie 3 times. I mean, there's just so many, you know, not to say there's just, you know, there's just people that influence me. So shout out to them. Shout out to the whole scene in general. All the stuff we've been through. Cause like I said, it really does mean a lot. So this is incumbent to everybody. If, you know, if anybody sees this, like, and we cross paths, I really appreciate it. Like, I can't sum up few people, because I could go on and on and on about why and what, and just leave it at that.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Like,
what is next for you? What's the next project you or the label's working on?
For me, like, it's everything. Like, my goal is just like I've always wanted. It's always changed, but I always want to be. You know, I want to leave a legacy with my artistry. So it's, of course, building on that. But like, you know, small steps. Like, I have to think about things like how I want to impact regionally, and also just like for me, like mostly it's not about like what I'm releasing and what I'm doing, but like the intent behind it, and also answering questions for myself, like, you know, allowing myself to do certain things creatively, and also just being more business minded on certain aspects or my weak points that, you know, I'm not necessarily strong in, because I want to be a fully independent artist. Just like I have a vision. I've always had a vision of how I see myself, and I need to feed that vision, because I want to be in a position where I can give back and the control, and, you know, not control, but just like have the power to feed the community and feed, you know, my family, and feed my space, and be that pillar that I visualize myself at, and like music's my vessel to do that. So for me, it's just, you know, getting better as a rapper, and also just allowing myself to have an experience, you know, making good songs, collabing with people, getting better at engineering and this and that. Like, it's the sport to me. I'm gonna, you know, do it until they say I can't do it. As far as the label, we are, you know, we're getting ready to, you know, we're touring more. We're really giving ourselves that career that everybody kind of expects the world to give them. You know, everybody has this thing, I'm gonna blow up as an artist. Like, we're giving ourselves that. We're really working towards having that, because we're going to have substantial. It's going to be substantial. We want to be able to be like, no, we wake up every day and that's how we get paid. Somebody's doing an interview, somebody's traveling, somebody's performing, writing. Like, we already live this. We're manifesting and really putting ourselves out there. So it's just a matter of getting more consistent, a matter of being more vulnerable with our craft and our art, but taking it to that next level, because while it is about us, it's also about the input, like what we represent. And I feel like we represent ourselves, we represent this region, we represent our families. We want that to really stand at the forefront. and be something people can attach to and be influenced by.
Yeah, I, I I share the same sentiment. You know, all we can do is we want to make the world a better place than when we found it,
Hmm.
and help those around us, and all while challenging ourselves and finding joy and learning new things along the way.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. Can we expect any new music from you? Any a new EP or album coming out?
Um, I'm working on kind of certain styles, EPs. I'm always working on something, but
Yeah.
just for me, just expect more consistency,
Okay.
more singles, and more me,
More Dom V.
more me. I'm just
Mm.
learning to lean into myself and trust my intuition and give you what I'm supposed to give you versus anything else, versus what's expected. Like I really want people to be able to wake up and turn on my music and be like, this is someone who's inspiring me, because this is the same way I felt about certain musicians or certain people in my life. Like, these people inspire me, the people around me.
Mhm.
Like, I want people to wake up, turn on my music, and like it feeds their soul. And it's like, I can be great today because
Mm.
this is getting me through, a tough time, or this is
Mm.
helping me think about something differently. Because that's the way I use music. It's like,
Yeah.
use it to navigate and work out feelings and express myself. And my goal is just to connect with people more through music, along with connecting myself and doing something I've never done. Like, yeah, just working at it every day.
Yeah. There's nothing much more rewarding than bringing peace or positivity to somebody else's life through your music. It makes me think of, when you're young and you feel a certain way, you feel maybe you're having a really bad time, and you feel like nobody else in the world feels like you feel.
Yeah,
Nobody else could possibly understand how you
yeah,
feel until you hear that song.
mm-hmm,
That so perfectly describes how you feel that you feel less alone in that moment.
yeah,
And to create a piece of art that makes that young person feel less alone and heard and understood, that's the greatest gift that you could receive from creating your art.
you said
So
it. Yeah, you said it perfectly.
what what you do and what I do and what people in our community do can facilitate that feeling, for that knowledge for young people, to let them know they can be heard and they should be heard, and what they have to say is very meaningful.
Mm-hmm,
So I love that sentiment from you. But it was really great talking to you, man. I thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
man. Thank you for having me. It's great. Like, I really appreciate it.
Of
Like I
course.
said, you're one of those people that just like, you know what I mean. It's like an unspoken language. Like, we just,
Hmm.
we do what we do.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I I look forward to doing more of these, with just because we live such busy lives. We have people we admire from afar. Like, I look at your work, and I listen to Frozen Winds every winter, and
Appreciate it.
we all adults and we have our lives, so it's hard to sit down and have a conversation and really exchange
Yeah.
ideas and just our thoughts about the world around us. And so I'm glad we were able to do this. You're a Dirty Dom B on Instagram. The record label is Creative Natives. Can also catch you on Twitch. And the Breeze tapes are available everywhere music is sold.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to us to check out?
Um, DonBmusic.com. I mean, hit my website, even if you just look around, other than that, just follow me on Instagram. That's where I mostly,
Gotcha.
if that's where I'm most active. I'm not a super social guy. I'm mostly
Gotcha.
just, doing stuff. But yeah, other than that, just everybody take care of yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Man, thank you.